Hey, this is YouTube, Rocco. Could be anything.
You ain't lying.
I should go live on my stream and do like a double stream where it's full screen.
Yeah, why not? Like, why not do that?
Because that's content stealing. I'm just kidding.
Who says?
All right, so it says it's live right now. So somebody check. Oh wait, oh it's unlisted. Why does it keep going back to unlisted? It keeps it. This is the second time I changed it to public on YouTube, and it keeps going back to unlisted.
That's weird.
Now it says the changes have been saved, but I don't know if it's going to immediately.
It says live now. On mine.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep. It's good.
Yeah, I see it. It's live.
Yeah. Yes, we're live.
Thank the good Lord.
There it is.
Hey, we're live.
Only 29 minutes late. I feel like a Tux Digital stream right now.
Hey, how dare you? 29
Hey,
minutes
there
would be
you go.
fantastic for me.
You got an intro there, Rocco? You want to do an intro? Or?
It's already live. There's no sense of
We're
doing an
way
intro
past that.
again. We're way past the intro part.
We are live on Big Daddy Linux. Live.
That's
Saturday
right.
night.
Do it up.
That's it.
Hello,
I'm done.
YouTube.
All right. So we have to say that there was a guy here last week who suggested
Show his
that
face.
that suggested that everybody try Antergos. And I believe pretty much everybody here tried Antergos.
Mhm.
And the guy that suggested it's not here to accept all the pitchforks for trying Antergos.
Right, because he knew that. He knew that was going to happen from all our comments all week.
Yeah, pretty much he knew. So I don't know.
Chickened
So
out.
let's go one by one. Let's talk about what happened on Antergos. Barb, what happened
Okay.
on Antergos with you?
I had a partition that I could install it on this one computer. In fact, on the one I'm using right now. And what ended up was I installed it, but it actually didn't install where I told it to install. It installed it on a different drive. Oh, thrill. So, okay, I straightened all that out and I try it again. And my Ubuntu partition was there. It said it's installed successfully. Antergos said it was installed successfully, and it wouldn't boot at all. So then when I went in to look at it, there were only 2 partitions. There wasn't even a boot partition. It was gone. It wasn't on the other drive either. It was just gone.
I think I know what happened though, Barb.
What? I wanted to, what?
No,
Tell
because
me.
when I was installing it, one of the things I did is I went into my BIOS and disabled the other drive that I didn't want to have touched.
Right.
I still left, which was risky. I left my Peppermint drive alone. But when I went through the manual partitioning, by default, it picked what we consider the native drive in the computer because I'm using a flash drive dongle.
Mhm.
So I went and I made sure I unchecked that because if you didn't do that, it would obviously affect your main drive.
Right.
I checked the drive that I wanted, but down below, if you look down lower, there's another checkbox with a drop down for the different drives that are on there. And if you missed that,
Oh, no, I got that. I made
Okay.
sure it was on SDA, and it.
well, because if you didn't pick like I had the 120 gig drive, which is the Peppermint drive,
Right.
and that was still down there by default. And if I didn't change that to look at the 64 gig Scan Cruiser drive,
Mhm.
flash drive here, it would have still wrote it to the SSD.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, no, I know that. I was really careful
That's
about
what it
that.
sounded like. But if you did all that, then I don't know what happened.
I don't either, because then when I went back and I actually ended up pulling the drive out, putting it into an external case and looking at it on another machine, and there were only 2 partitions. There was nothing else. Antergos was on one of those partitions, and Ubuntu was on that partition, on the other partition, but it couldn't boot. There was no.
Are you using 1711 too for Antergos?
Yeah, I used whatever the current one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I put in XFCE. I just simply didn't like it because I used the customization. I tried Mate. Mate wouldn't let me customize anything. So now I'm actually on the Cinnamon version, which so far has been doing okay.
Yeah, because I use the Mate version because that's what I use and that's what I like.
Me too, but I had issues with it. I didn't like it.
Maybe it was that version. Yeah. But I wasn't going to try it again after twice. Forget it.
I figured 3 strikes, and if it didn't work that time, I
2, and it was done with me.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, since I have to redo everything, I put Ubuntu back on, and I put Solus on the other partition, and I love it. And it works.
Yeah.
And I'm happy, and I'm using it right now.
See, there you go. So a good thing came out of it.
Yeah, with a lot of aggravation and all sorts of swearing and cursing and the dog leaving the room because I was aggravated.
Well, I can promise you I am on Antergos at home, but I'm on my mobile at the moment.
So you got it installed, Zeb, without no problems or what?
No, I had major problems in the fact that the basic installer that says do this with NVIDIA on non-free drivers didn't work. So I had to go hunting the web for somebody who'd made an NVIDIA installer with it because I couldn't get the graphics cards to work. But I got it to work once I found this different installer that had them working.
Yeah, well, I did notice that the installer has the option to install the NVIDIA drivers right from the get-go. But if you're not like looking for it, you have to actually scroll to see the NVIDIA driver part. So if you're not looking for it, you're just going to... Oh, I don't want that stuff and continue on. But Colin, what did you think?
Well, I've experienced some really weird anomalies with the installer actually, and I've done I think I've installed it without a lie probably 8-9 times this week, and I've had
8 or 9 times.
Yeah, wow. I've had 3 successful installs. Well, when these things happen to me, I like to troubleshoot and find out what the problems are. And what I've experienced is there's a problem for me. I don't know with other people because other people are saying it installed flawlessly on Telegram. So I've found that I've had to update the mirror list, and then that generates a new mirror list called pack new, and then I copied that and changed that to the new mirror list, and then I had to go into the .conf file and enable the Australian mirror list because it's commented out by default. Once I did that, then I got through the first stage. Then I choose not to let Cinchi control the mirror list, just leave it as it is. And then I've experienced that I do not install any packages, turn them all off, and it worked for me. That was the most recent install. So there seems to be an issue with the packages on the installer. That's where it fails every time with the packages and the mirror list. So strange.
Well, I tried to install it the first time, and again, this installer used to work really good for me, but every time I install something, I got to unplug drives in order for the installer to actually get through the process without taking an hour. And this is one of the installers that didn't have a problem before, but it did have a problem. So after like 35 minutes of it trying to install, I just decided it would be faster if I stopped the install, went and opened the computer, unplugged the drives, and then tried it again. And I was correct. It was faster to do that than to let it continue. So after a couple tries there, I did get it installed, but I was very unimpressed with the XFCE version. Antergos does a great job with GNOME and KDE as far as it looks really polished. It looks they make a few tweaks to it. They add a few different extensions in the GNOME version, but the XFCE version did not seem polished at all. It seemed like it was like actually Ubuntu was probably better looking than Antergos was, and I was surprised by that because I expected it to be really good. So it didn't stay long, and it
was ugly. Actually, I thought it was really ugly.
It did mess up my bootloader too, because now I guess anytime Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like when I install Ubuntu, the bootloader will will always default to Ubuntu or the first one that's installed. But if I install an Arch-based distro like Manjaro or Antergos, it will default to the last operating system that was booted up on.
Usually, yes.
But on Ubuntu, it doesn't do that. So I had Ubuntu installed.
And Ubuntu does the boot order of whatever it's supposed to be. Like whatever you select the boot order to be.
Yes. Well, now, because I installed Antergos, my bootloader has changed to boot to the last installed operating system, which drives me insane. It just drives me up a wall. So,
Yeah, but as soon as you put it to your default, it will stay on the default.
No, it
Yes.
doesn't. Unfortunately, it
should
doesn't.
Mm.
It doesn't.
Well-
It actually changes it. It changes it so that I have to actually go into the BIOS and switch it.
That's weird.
Congratulations, Rocco, because I didn't even get to boot any of my other operating systems because it didn't even recognize any of them. And then once I tried to update the grub on Antergos, all I got was a blinking cursor with a black screen, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
And try again. So
Yeah, but at least it didn't eat your grub like it did to me.
But you know what? You guys,
I was-
you all sound like you installed it on
Multi-boot.
one drive and just partitioned. And maybe the difference is because, again, I used a flash drive, which is completely independent. And I don't know if that's the difference why I didn't have the problems. The only thing was for me is, like I said, I thought XFCE was ugly. Mate wouldn't let me tweak
It is.
and stuff like that. But it's not that it didn't work. It just didn't seem like it was as responsive as Ubuntu Mate. And so far, what little bit I played with it on the Cinnamon version of it, it's fine on here right now. But I don't know if that's the difference, because the common denominator amongst the rest of you sounds like you tried doing it on the same initial drive, just putting separate partitions. Am I right or wrong?
No, I've tried it. I've tried it several ways. I've tried it with multiple disks installed. I had 3 different operating systems, plus I installed to a different partition, and it didn't recognize. I had to try and mount the Antergos partition. That all failed. Then I nuked the whole drive and did it again. Still, it errored out with packages. So I sorted out the package side of things. But then I did install to entire disk and just let Antergos take over the entire disk with nothing else but Antergos. That failed.
Wow.
That was then I had
Were
to
there other
uncheck.
discs? With their other discs mounted?
No, just
You only have one
that
disk.
disk only. Yep. And then I figured out that I had to uncheck and not to install any of the packages. Like I toggled them all off. And then I actually opened G-parted, deleted everything, just had it unallocated, and then did all that, fixed the mirrors, and then unchecked all the packages, and then it went through. And then I sorted out all the packages I needed after a install. But I don't know which one of those was the problem.
I never had any of those problems. I just couldn't get the NVIDIA drivers to work. Everything installed flawlessly. I was able to choose which partition on my 3 hard disks I want, because I've got them segmented up into 100 gigabyte pieces, and it installed flawlessly. I just couldn't get NVIDIA to work until I found this specific ISO, and then it installed flawlessly, and I just set up XFCE how I wanted it to. So it was all good.
It's very interesting, I must say, all this.
Mhm.
I know that my NVIDIA is very troublesome for screen tearing, and I think that the NVIDIA card on this may be a problem as well. I think it's the hardware as well. I've tried Antergos in the past and it was beautiful, flawless. So there is that, and then there's this one. So I don't know. Maybe it's the hardware. It's got to be the hardware. Going on what other people are saying, they've had flawless installs. So horses for courses, isn't it? Really, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, Rocco, are you having problems because you're trying to use Restream? Is it Restream causing you the problems?
Restream caused me the issues when I started the stream. I had to completely remove Restream
Right.
because it just like messed everything. We started like a half hour late because of it. So
Okay.
it was
My bad.
Oh no. I was willing to try it. It's just that it didn't work out too good, and it kind of messed up the YouTube streaming settings and my OBS settings. And now I'm even having trouble with the buffering. It just keeps buffering and over again. And people were talking about it in the chat. So I don't know what's going on with it.
Mm-hmm.
It requires, like when I do OBS stuff, I'm testing anything. I have like multiple profiles just in case, because they don't tell you this, but OBS, if you set up a different profile, the settings for the app also attach to those profiles.
Yeah,
That's
it's
great.
buffering. I'm watching. It's buffering really bad. It's chopping really bad, like stuttering.
I don't know why. I mean, the connection is good. The kilobytes is good. I don't know why it's buffering.
It's weird.
So, yeah, it is weird. It's like I said, I've had trouble ever since I started it. So I don't know what's going on with. I mean, maybe Restream messed it up or something. YouTube settings, maybe, I don't know, or maybe my OBS settings. Who knows?
I mean, it shouldn't. If you didn't change, you said you changed the settings in the profiles, like that might change things, and Restream had made you change certain like stream settings and stuff like that.
Maybe it automatically changed some of them, yeah. Because all I did was connect my YouTube account. I didn't change any of the stream settings.
Oh.
I mean, like, all I did was connect the YouTube account and add the Restream key to OBS. That was it.
Yeah. And that's all you do. And as long as you're not sending it too much data, like, I don't know, 6,000 rather than 10,000 you can send to YouTube.
Someone's using Arch, that's why it doesn't work.
Is that what it is, Tuss?
Don't look at me.
Are you, Rocco?
What? Oh, I'm not on Arch right now. I'm not.
So
on
how
Arch
how many of the 9 people in the window are actually using Antergos?
Oh, I am.
There are 4. I would be if I was at home. I promise you guys that I have got it installed. I'll show you next week.
Well, I've been using it since 2014, so that's kind of like sort of cheated, but like for me, there are some issues. I know there are issues, but like that's true for all distros, you know. I think that this is like an interesting test case because there's a lot of people who are having issues with Cinchi, and there's some people who are seemingly having like no issues at all. Like there are sometimes, like I've heard some stories about, you know, I guess horror stories really about people who have used Cinchi and it didn't work for them at all. And then other people who have said that it was flawless and there was no problem. It was the best installer they ever used. And that's kind of the thing. Like it's usually one or the other. There's very rarely like someone's like, well, it's okay. It didn't work great, but it was okay. It's usually like, this is fantastic, or it just destroyed something or whatever.
Yeah, and it took me forever. It took over an hour for it to do the install and the updates.
Problem. That's just the net install itself, like you know, because you're not going to install anything from the ISO.
Yeah.
Well, if you would have asked me before, I would have said it was the best installer.
Yeah, exactly. Because the last time it was perfectly fine for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, the last time I used it, it was good. So,
yeah, there's a weird. I think I'm not speaking on behalf of the team or anything. I'm just saying this is like in my opinion, the problems that people have with the installer is usually, I'd say it's because like the team is pretty small. Like overall, the size of Antergos team is pretty small. But Arch moves so fast that yes, most packages are packaged by Arch, but there are some situations where we have to still have to test things and pay attention to things, and sometimes things just fall through. And because Arch moves so fast, you could use Cinchi on one of your computers, and it's perfect. It goes perfect, and then a month or two later, it might not. Like that's kind of a weird thing I've seen in a couple of cases. I've seen people who actually like had used Cinchi before, said it was perfectly fine and it was great and they loved it, and then the latest like ISO refresh wouldn't install for them, and then they would come into the IRC and ask for an older ISO. And I typically do have multiple ISOs of Antergos, so when people ask me if I have one of a particular version, and I typically do have one. So it's weird because the ISO itself doesn't change much. It's just like what packages are installed, and since he's updated every time, like every time you load up the load up Cinchi, it updates itself every time. So there's even a notification that says that we're updating Cinchi right now. Hold on a second, and it shouldn't make a difference. I don't know what it is. But some people have reported that there's a problem sometimes and it's fantastic other times. I don't know. I've never had a problem, but it could be because my hardware is like a sweet spot or something, or it also could be I rarely have multiple drives at the time and I don't multi-boot at all. So it could be that. I don't know.
I've never had a problem with the particular laptop I was using that I tried it on. I've never had a problem installing any distro or even having multiple partitions on one drive.
ThinkPads. That's what I use for Linux. They're awesome. Never had a problem with ThinkPads. Dual booting.
And so that's why I was surprised it didn't work.
Yep.
I'm dual booting Revenge OS on a little HP Elite book, and that's dual booting with Windows 10 and Ferrin OS. And I had the same, but I had to run the make config command for the boot. That worked fine, but it didn't work with Antergos, so I don't know why. So I'm not sure.
I installed, I downloaded and installed Linux Mint Cinnamon as a full install on one of my ThinkPads. It seems okay. I upgraded from Ubuntu Unity to Ubuntu GNOME. I just could not deal with it, so it's gone. I tried to be I really, really tried, but I just could not deal with it. So,
well, the only reason I'm on Antergos tonight is because the MII guy, that's missing tonight.
You mean Ryan Dosgeek, that guy?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah.
That guy who started the whole thing.
Threw up the challenge.
Yeah.
I won't stay on it.
I'm not doing any more of these challenges. At least not for a while.
Tell us, you should make a video about the experience of switching to the GNOME from the Ubuntu and just call it GNOME thanks.
Thanks. Probably should. I've been saying that's one for Michael, but no. What do I say? In this house, GNOME has not found a home. But I tried. I really, really wanted to like it, but I gave up.
It's the home of the future Pizza Linux. We already talked about that.
Pizza Linux.
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you what,
you got to make your own distro, Pizza Linux, right?
Okay, all right. Go ahead and insult some Italians. Go ahead. Yeah, right. No.
And so I'm Italian. I love pizza. What are you talking about? Hey,
we all love
talking
pizza.
to me.
You talking to me, huh?
You talking to me?
I'm talking to you, man.
Anyway,
And I thought it was GNOME.
It is GNOME.
GNOME.
Yeah.
GNOME.
personally, I like genome. Stress genome because it sounds, masculine.
Gangsta,
Genome,
yeah.
but gangsta.
Hey,
like
Michael,
yeah.
did I hear you this week? Happen to call in? I came in late and decided to watch Ask Noah, and those 2 seconds later, this caller comes in and it says, "Hi, Michael, Touch Digital." He's everywhere.
Kind of. I mean, to be fair, I've known Noah for years, so I've contributed to his show, every show he's been on for years.
Yeah.
So
I just thought it was funny because no sooner I come in an hour, almost, he's getting near the end of the show, and the first call that I hear is you guys.
I'm putting my fingers into every angle I can.
Too much info. Too much info.
That's why I said angle.
So Pete, you run Antergos, right?
Yeah.
So you have no input on the challenge because you already run it, or what?
I mean, I've been running it for over a year now, so I mean, I've never had any problems with it installing.
I actually liked Antergos. I tried it in a VBox. It had a very, if that's the one, that's based on Arch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
It had a very, I thought it had a newbie-friendly installer. I think if that's the one I'm thinking of, I was surprised and I liked it. It seems simple.
It was what? Can you repeat that again?
It had, I thought,
newbie friendly
installer. I think that's the one. I don't distro hop as much as I used to, but anyway, to make a point, I liked it. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a beautiful desktop. The GNOME desktop is absolutely stunning, I must say.
Yes, it is. And that's why I was so upset about the XFCE version, because it was like totally not stunning.
Yeah, there's kind of an issue with some DEs definitely get more attention than the others, and GNOME gets the most.
Well, one of the reasons I couldn't deal with GNOME, whatever you want to call it, I couldn't get the extensions to work. And then Popey, my man from the UK, from the Ubuntu kingdom, Alan Popey replies, well, if you try to install the extensions, it might break the system. Thanks for popping the bubble on my GNOME desktop, Popey. But
some extensions have problems. That's true.
Okay. I just could not deal with it because I wanted to customize it. That's the point of Linux, is to customize it your own, right?
Ubuntu GNOME's version is not intended to be like, this huge modificational thing, because they have, as long as it doesn't affect the things that they provided by default, it should be fine. Unless if you wanted to do something that would, you'd have to replace them with the regular versions.
Like I tried Pop OS, which ran a little faster for whatever reason, but I still couldn't get the extensions to work. I needed about between 5 and 10 extensions to make it like newbie friendly or user friendly. I gave up.
Well, to be honest with you, the only thing that I'm having problems with Ubuntu, regular Ubuntu 17.10, is the whole system tray notification thing, because like at some point it's working fine and I can see all of my applets or running programs or whatever in the system tray, and then other times they're just gone, they're just not there. So like I have nothing to right click on, I have nothing to do. If I right click on Discord and I hit quit, it actually opens Discord rather than quitting.
Naturally.
What are you drinking, Rocco? Stay away from. What are you drinking?
I feel like it's like against me. It's trying to make me crazy because I hit quit, it opens it. So
it's the new opposite OS. When you shut down, it comes up, right? Yeah. When you hit mute, it goes the opposite. Okay. Well, this is a transition period for Ubuntu, so I'm going to cut off some slack now. I won't call Sicily. But no, we'll see what happens in the next one. What is it, 1804? I think it'll get better, but for now, not for me. I tried. I really, really tried, but I couldn't deal with it. So
there's also things they were testing that are like fully aware. They are fully aware that it's going to be broken.
Yeah,
because they're testing out stuff like Wayland and stuff like that.
Yes,
but it is cool that they are trying to take into consideration that. Sometimes if someone has NVIDIA, Wayland doesn't work. So if they detect if you have NVIDIA drivers or hardware, and it will not even offer you Wayland. It'll just say, yeah, you're using NVIDIA. Here's X. Like they are doing some effort in that case, but there's a few things they're going to miss.
Well, I had to log out to get Synaptic to work. I had to log out and then choose Ubuntu on Zorg versus Ubuntu on Wayland or something like that, I think, and it seemed to work better. I mean, I don't mind those little tweaks like that, but not having my extensions, it's like having my spaghetti and no sauce. That ain't gonna happen.
Chip, is the buffering not any better?
It's intermittent, Rocco. It comes and goes.
I have no idea what that is.
The last 5 minutes on my end, it seems okay right now. It started off like it was, choppy, but now it seems okay. I don't know.
Yeah. It seems
all right, Shane, you're the last guy, so I guess you're in Pete's boat. You run it, so you didn't have any problems installing it.
No, but I was just in KDE and had to force reboot my system because it kept locking up. And
wow.
So I'm back in GNOME.
Michael, what do you have to say?
I blame the latte dog.
He's speechless.
That's a rarity.
I was letting other people. I didn't want to interrupt or anything, so.
Well,
And also, I
been
didn't have anything.
Let's talk some positives. Let's talk some positives. Linux Mint 18.3 looks really good.
It's a positive.
It installed. It went installed next to the other operating system. And it gave me boot options as well. It was great, and it's really looking good.
Well, I wish Ryan was here because he's like googly-eyed in love with Linux Mint right now, and he loves it. Yes, he is. He's like running XFCE version of Linux Mint, and he loves it. So, but I was telling him, Michael, about the PPA thing where you said that it puts their versions. So he was telling me that he didn't see that, and I was wondering if something changed recently with that, because he was saying that he added the PPA for OBS Studio, and he was able to update to the newest version.
Because OBS Studio is not in Linux Mint by default.
I think he said it was.
Repo.
I think he said it was, but it was an old version. So he added the PPA to upgrade
No,
to
if it's in the OBS, if it's in the Ubuntu repo, it has to be in the Mint repo. So like Mint has their own repo sitting on top of Ubuntu. If it's not in Ubuntu, but it is in Mint, and then you install a PPA, then Mint just tells the PPA to go away.
Right. Okay.
For example, KDE Connect is one of those things. So when I was writing an article, I only found this because I was testing something, and it still happens now. If you install the PPA for KDE Connect, Mint ignores it and just uses its own version.
Everything in Mint is older.
For the NVIDIA drivers.
It depends on if it's in their repos or not. Like it only applies to stuff in their custom repo.
And can you not change that in your own settings?
You can change it, except that it depends on. You have to go. You have to first know that it even is happening and know why it's happening. Two, you have to go in and change the priority of the default priority of Mint packages. Then you'd have to change the order of the Mint packages to make sure they're on top of the Ubuntu packages, so that if you do want the Mint packages, they will be there. Then you have to go into and say, make sure that the PPA priority is the same as the 500 value, the same as the Mint priority, and then you're good to go. That sounds super friendly, right? Super user friendly.
Just like Windows.
Great for the new user. Just absolutely beautiful.
It's the best new user distro because those things like that are fantastic. But there's also another thing where you can fake the PPA to work by doing a workaround. You download the dev file from the PPA, install the dev file manually, and then now the PPA will work. Fun. Another one. There you go.
Yeah, sounds great.
Good one for the new user.
There's a variety of weird things like that. But
so, Michael, I have a question for you. Does this run on Linux, the Echo Dot?
Not
curious.
Really, kind of, yes, sort of, not really, huh?
Okay. No, that was a real question. Because I wasn't sure.
Neither is he.
Okay, so you're talking about this thing.
Yes,
and
I bought one. Hot Friday, $30.
It was like,
yeah,
$30 on Amazon. I was like, I gotta try it.
Yeah. And it does work. I was really surprised. Yeah,
it is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think this runs it. It might, but if it does, it's definitely a custom version. Right. But I think it might be running like a modified version of Android, which is technically Linux, sort of, kind of.
That's what I thought.
And it depends on if they actually use how. I haven't looked into this much for the device itself, but their servers run Linux. So the answer is either way, yeah, kinda.
Okay, all right. I kind of thought. I actually went out today. Walmart has the Google Mini Home or Home Mini for $30, but then you get a $25 online shopping rebate coupon. So I bought it. It's still sealed. I said, do I really need to get Home Assistant? So it's still sealed in the box in the garage for now. But
maybe it tells better jokes, Carmine.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, really.
Thing I like
wow.
Is that you can make your own,
his video at the end? No, he's had to tell me the dirty.
They were so lame. I mean, but they were clean.
They were clean, but your response, your facial expression at the end, right when you ended your video, you went.
Well, I didn't know what to expect. It was my first, I have a family channel. So when I said, tell me a dirty joke, I was like, I hope it doesn't get too dirty. It wasn't even close, but It was safe for adults. I'd be safe for children. But yeah, I got the Home Mini, but I'm like, okay, it's a $24 online shopping, but you have to go through express.google.com. You know, I said, could I just get a freaking printout coupon and go to the store? You know, but I guess the Google one is more open to web searches. Like with this, like if I say play smooth jazz, play smooth jazz music. First, I got to go into the skills or the music settings and, have an account with Pandora and all that. And that was annoying. But I think with the Google one, do you need those accounts or just say play jazz and it plays it off the web?
It depends because sometimes it'll play stuff from the Google Music Player thing.
Right. Yeah.
To play, but you have to have an account for that. YouTube it might play in general. It depends on if
I thought about that. Yeah.
If the video allows playback on devices that are not computers or mobile, then it might work. Okay. But there's some Vevo videos that will purposefully not allow that just for some reason.
Well, I saw some mini reviews. I guess because it is a Google, it's based off. Well, Google has the Google power of the Google web. When you ask a question, obscure question, you probably have better luck of finding an answer or giving you an answer versus the Amazon one. So I don't know.
Typically the Amazon is using Google as well.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. Depending on the device. I haven't actually tried that. I opened it and didn't use it.
Okay.
But I did get also a Fire TV Stick, which uses Alexa as well, and I did test that, and that did search Google.
I had to go to my app on my phone, and skills. I was looking for Linux podcasts, but I think it was like generic stuff or stuff I wasn't too.
An app, a skill called AnyPod, and then you can use that to listen to podcasts.
AnyPod, okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's only one podcast to listen to anyway.
Destination Linux. But
I'll have to check it out. Okay. I mean, I have it set for the news, like from Reuters and NPR and all that, and that's fine.
The skills are cool, but my favorite part about the skills for Amazon, like the Google Mini the Google Home is not as extensive and as it's not as open as they want you to think it is.
Okay.
Whereas the Echo is pretty open as far as skills, so you can build your own skills. So that's why I got it, because I wanted to play with it. Another thing that's really cool about the Alexa AI is that you can put Alexa on a Raspberry Pi. Okay. So you don't even need to buy one of these. It's just if I got this because it was cheaper than.
Well, for $30, I mean, really, I mean, I knew it was worth 50, but when it says 30, and I ordered these to get the free shipping, I ordered these Rayovac Fusion 12-year batteries. I figure I have to pay $5 either for this and get free shipping, or pay $5 for. So I got the batteries, but for $30, it's definitely a steal. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
Set alarm for this or sleep time. I like the fall asleep to like a thunderstorm or rain shower or sea sounds. It's really nice. Yeah, I mean,
pretty good.
But the one thing I don't like about the Google Home, for what I saw, is that stupid fabric on top. And like, where's the buttons? I guess they're hidden. It looks like something you wear on your shirt or something, but I don't know, on your jacket.
The buttons are right.
No, I'm on the Google Home Mini. They're like hidden.
Yeah, they're built in.
There's that fabric,
yeah,
which looks silly in my opinion, but whatever.
That's actually a situation where they were kind of like trying to blend it into the speaker type. The fabric is like supposed to resemble like a fabric for the mesh. That actually is sort of annoying, but
get it. But it's like I want to hit. I mean, I have it open, but if I have it open, I would want to hit mute versus the switch. Just again, I'm thinking user friendly, but whatever.
There was a bug that was in the Google Home that in the top of the Google Home is the button you press to activate it.
Okay.
And they had a manufacturing issue where that button is always pressed. So
wow. There's a manufacturing issue. Yeah,
convenient.
So it doesn't work. So if it stays on that way,
it wasn't everyone's. It wasn't like there was. It wasn't like everyone had this problem. It was like a few people had this problem, and they were like, wait, what?
Okay.
And it was like 4 or 5 people, and they figured out what the problem was, and it was this weird
software.
No, it was a hardware issue. It was like the
was
button was being activated by like the mesh cover thing. And
see,
yeah, and they said they issued, instead of like doing recalls or anything, they just issued a software update that would remove that button entirely, so it would only activate when it hears the call.
Okay.
So it is, because they are technically always listening. They're supposedly only listening for the particular call.
Well, I don't know how private those things are, but when I don't use it, I hit the mute button. It's off. But it is kind of strange to go into the settings and it records. I think it records all your previous questions, right? And you play them back, and that's weird, you know. But
yeah,
I guess you can go in like and manage the settings and delete all that. But anyway, I mean, it works for $30. I'm not complaining, so you know.
Yeah, I don't know how much that Amazon tracks that stuff, how long they keep it or anything, but Google definitely keeps it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So anybody tried the new MX-17 yet?
Is that officially out yet? I thought it was still in beta.
It's still in beta.
Beta 3, but beta 3 is awesome. I'm telling you, it's 99.999999%, and it could take over Peppermint. It's that good.
I was just going to ask
That is...
if it's time for a new sweatshirt yet.
Not quite. Not quite. Peppermint's still at the top, but it is damn good. For a beta 3, it installed, it looks gorgeous, everything works. NVIDIA was a breeze, and it runs super smooth. So I'm very, very impressed.
So that's actually pretty cool. I do want to check out MX-17 and definitely add a system D to it. That sounds great. And,
so, Zab, are you saying that next week everybody should try MX-17 instead of like this Antergos?
Be careful with what you say, Zeb, because remember the
everybody's blaming Ryan. I thought it was me who said we should all try Antergos. Ryan probably said XFCE, but
well, you might have brought it up. I don't remember exactly.
Brought it up. I don't remember
but it was Ryan who's like, yeah, let's get everybody to do.
Yeah.
Where is he? Where is he?
He was afraid of the pitchforks.
He knew what was happening. That's why he got everybody. Let me do
He's
this.
probably playing Rocket League.
Or he's sitting here watching this and going, "Ha ha, suckers."
He apologizes, but he's not going to be here till later. He said, or if at all.
If at all. The last 2 minutes, you'll see.
It has been an hour, so it's pretty kind of later.
Yeah,
it's kind of later. It's more later than Tux Digital.
No, not really.
So, did everybody see that VidMe is shutting down or closing or whatever you call it?
I won't sleep good tonight, man. Let me tell
you. Our big
Hey,
YouTube savior.
Isn't it nice when you make a prediction and it totally comes true way sooner than you expected it to?
I mean,
the
really.
comment from Das Geek. Look at chat.
Oh, yeah. Look at him. Mm-hmm. Why don't you come on here?
Das Geek, the Russian is back.
Take the punishment that you so deserve.
That's Russian Geek.
Yeah, well.
So is VidMe a big loss, in all honesty?
No, it's one of those things where we've had many we've had many conversations about YouTube and having an alternative, and I didn't think that VidMe would ever become anything like YouTube. But there's always that little spark of hope that it would become something. And, like
the only one I've seen that
down the drain
that is a viable alternative maybe is Vimeo.
Yeah, but you got to pay for it. You got to pay to upload. So, you're right. Vimeo was really good when they started out.
Yeah.
It's got good. It's very good. It's just it's for like videographers and cinematographers and stuff like that who want to have like a video portfolio and all that stuff.
I like the fact it has a password protection, for copyrighted content or for stuff like that. But That's the only one I've seen that I think that looks like a true professional service that might be a competitor. But up to a gig or something like that, it's free, and then you have to. And if you want password protection, that's extra. I think it's like what, $7 a month and up, which isn't bad.
Yeah, they're not expensive. It's just like
no.
It's expensive enough to deter people from not joining it. But Vimeo is also like has been around for a very long time. I mean, almost as long as YouTube.
Really? Okay.
That, like they're not trying to compete with YouTube. Like this is they have a space that is like for short films and stuff like that want to have like, control over their content and like have full control over like no ads and
it is
all that stuff. It's pretty good. Like,
it is good for that. Yeah.
Back to VidMe, aren't they coming back as something else?
No, they're moving on to something else.
And do we know what that something else is yet?
No,
it's called Don't VidMe. No,
I don't think they know what that something else is yet.
Yeah. So they also said that they fired some of their employees and put a link to like, their resume for those people if you want to hire them. It's weird. That part was weird, but overall, it's kind of like they've been around. Like VidMe's been around since 2014. They had no chance at competing with YouTube because they started in a situation where they were trying to compete at a limited level, and they wanted to make creators come to the platform and also advertise the platform to get people to follow them on that platform before they would get enough like leeway for how long a video can be and how large the video like file size can be and all this other stuff. And they were limiting it so much that it gave no incentive for people to switch over. So they kept talking about how you're going to have more money and it's creator focused and stuff, but then they have so many reasons why the creators wouldn't switch. And then they also have to deal with the biggest problem is that people aren't leaving YouTube. They're not going to leave YouTube.
No,
the creators will never leave YouTube until YouTube itself destroys itself and like collapses on itself or something. Like YouTube is the powerhouse. It is a like gigantic audience.
I think what they've done is ticked off a lot of content creators trying to solve this so-called adpocalypse and thing, but
yeah, but it's impossible for like every single creator who said go follow me on VidMe or something like that.
I never said but you're right. I have heard that you can follow me, but I'm like, yeah, VidMe. I never thought Vimeo. Maybe, but is there a true competitor to YouTube right now? I wish there was. But the funny thing is, say it was WorldTube or something, and say it was free like YouTube, and then 5 years from now, they may have their own adpocalypse going on. So it's one of those things where I think YouTube was probably lax.
Well, VidMe also had an adpocalypse as well. They explained why.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it wasn't the same kind of situation, but it was a similar. They had a similar problem where they were talking about how they couldn't get people to
the face of nightmares.
Yep, there it is. Gosh. That is definitely it. They couldn't get people to
I see the plastic surgery went well. Congratulations, but no.
Hello. Hey. Hello.
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 Hi.
So the
well, I didn't know Vimeo had their own issue, but YouTube is really trying to appease its content creators, and they're having a hell of a time. I have a feeling that back at the boardroom at YouTube, they're probably going, how are we going to fix this? But sometimes I watch Daryl Eves. He's like Mr. YouTube, and all that. Mm-hmm. But even he's like, phew, when's this going to end? But oh well.
Well, they got to deal with all kinds of stuff. But the issue is that VidMe had different ad issues where because YouTube is such a conglomerate and such a powerhouse, And because they have Google for the analytics and stuff, and the ad system, they have an incredibly powerful ad system where companies can like tailor what they want and stuff. VidMe had basically none of that. So you had to so people would come to the companies would go to VidMe and say, can you offer us to say we only want videos to go for this thing, for this particular type of content, or we don't want videos to be associated with these kinds of content and all this other stuff. And VidMe didn't have a way to do that. So because they didn't have that functionality, the advertisers didn't pay for it. So it just, but once VidMe got to the popularity that it did because of the adpocalypse thing, it just they just couldn't sustain the problem. Like they couldn't sustain the services itself.
Well, I've noticed with lately, whatever YouTube is, I noticed that the AdSense is creeping up a little bit on my channel. Not much, but it's not as bad, it seems.
Yeah, they issued an update about 3 weeks ago, somewhere around there. They said that the algorithm is now 30% better than it was.
Yeah, there was a press statement. Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, so they are trying. But like somebody said, up until, I guess they started last year, YouTube is just starting now to enforce their own guidelines because they were lax. The people were complaining, so read the guidelines. They've always been there. But now Google was, they were forced, YouTube was forced to say, hey, these are the rules. Maybe we should start enforcing our own rules.
Pretty much.
The algorithms must be wrong because they even blocked one of their own adverts as spam.
I did see. That was kind of funny. Yeah. It was an ad for yeah, right. Well, yeah.
The biggest issue YouTube had is that they knew for a fact that this was coming, that this was going to happen. Because even in their terms of service, like for at least 5 years now, they had a clause that said there will be issues where your ads will show on things you don't want it to show. So they knew it was going to happen. They knew it was going to come to a head eventually, and people figured it out. Like news organizations could use it as like fuel to their fire on top of YouTube. But the surprising thing to me is that YouTube didn't have anything in preparation for it coming. Like they knew it was going to happen. It just didn't bother until they had to. Like that is the weirdest thing for me.
I didn't know how bad it was until there's a YouTuber that I follow, and I think his content's fine. It's kind of like interesting, and he had 900,000 subscribers, and he says, "Please, I need your help. Follow me on Patreon." I'm like, wow. He almost had 1 million subscribers, but he said he had lost up to 90% of his revenue. He almost had 1 million. I was surprised. That took me by surprise. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some of the stuff is somewhat speculation, controversial, but it wasn't offensive. You know what I mean? But I guess YouTube says, hey, it's.
There were people,
yeah,
like when they first issued the algorithm, it was kind of like, desperation kind of thing.
Yeah,
and they were attacked. The algorithm was like associating to people who didn't have any reason to be flagged at all, and they were flagging them, and they knew it was happening, and they just they couldn't fix it fast enough, really.
Well, I hate to put this conversation on hold, but let's steer it back to Linux a little bit, because I think people are sick and tired of hearing about the adpocalypse.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are we going to try anything for next week or no?
Doesn't seem like anymore.
Or is everybody going to just stay with what they're? Well, Colin's going to try something because Colin tries something every day.
That's true,
right, Colin?
Yeah, I'll try. What do you want to try? I want to try.
MX17.
Yeah, I'll put
but
MX17 on
we
here.
gotta wait for it to come out of beta before we try it. So
beta 3
but
is
by
good
the
enough.
sound of it, sounds like the beta runs better than Antergos does when it's not in beta.
Even Alpha 3 is good enough.
You
for
like
me.
me,
Alpha
Donald?
2.
What, Barb?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you said something. Sorry.
No. I think it's the
Friday
troll at the
13th.
bottom.
Our scary friend.
Our scary friend, yeah.
Yeah, so I might try MX17, but I want to put Ferrin back on here as well, because I told Ferrin in chat last night I nuked his install. He wasn't happy.
Well, I've been wanting to try Farron again for a while, so I think I might end up trying that.
He's coming along really nice now. He's got a lot of good features in his operating system that really enhances the Cinnamon desktop nicely, I reckon.
Yeah, it definitely enhances it. What's that?
The layout system he built for Cinnamon was pretty nice.
Yeah, it definitely enhances it.
And if Toss likes to tweak his system and manipulate it, he's got infinite ability to do that on Farron. Tweak it to your heart's content.
Yeah, you can. And it's a rolling release now too, Farron. So,
has anyone tried PC Linux OS? Just out of curiosity.
About 5 years ago.
PC Linux OS.
I thought it was.
I think they're based out of Texas. No, they're still around. Yeah. I think they're based out of Texas. No, they're still around.
Colin has probably
got their audio on.
I think it's our scary friend, I believe.
Yeah, Colin yeah, that's
He's
it.
gone. So the audio. For some reason, I guess I thought it was already it was defunct, but I guess it's not. PC
No, they're actually, it's a quite, at least when I have it in an older 2004 or 5 ThinkPad, it's actually quite stable.
Really?
They don't use the latest. It's kind of like their version of a Debian, you know, focus, but it's really, really, I'm really surprised. Yeah. I'm just curious.
Here, I'm looking at their website and it says that they're using kernel 4.13.11.
I call it the forgotten
Mandriva?
Linux OS. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it based off Mandriva, that one?
It's a
Mandriva, I think.
Oh, are you talking about Open Mandriva?
PC Linux OS.
No, they're not.
Do they use RPM pack? I can't remember.
Yes, they do.
They do. Okay.
Oh, they're
However,
RPM.
they do it in a very weird way.
And it looks like they have two desktop environments, KDE
Yes.
and Mate. Yeah.
Yes. They used to have like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they also have community releases.
Yes.
I'm just looking on their website.
Mm-hmm. That one and
the other problem I had with PC Linux OS was their forum was a very, very unfriendly place.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I used to run it for about 2 years because it was that stable. And then I asked for some help and got told sort of like wiki, read the manual. No, you can't have this. We're already supplying that. We don't do packages just because some one person wants them. And I'm like, wow, okay.
I must be the only one that has had issues with communities. Maybe they're thinking, hey man, he's from New York, don't take him off, okay? But no. I haven't. I mean, I don't use community that much, but I don't recall having any issues. But whatever.
I mean, I haven't for the most part either. So it's not just you.
There are sometimes that sometimes.
I mean, I believe people when they say they've had issues.
Yeah. There are some communities that at one point were bad and they fix it, and there's other times where they're very user friendly and user accepting and stuff like that. Or in some cases, some distros will actually change in managers, management stuff, like the head of the distro will leave and a new one comes in, and like the experience is very different and stuff like that. Then there's other communities that are just abhorrent.
All right, so it's a random.
Yeah.
Random.
When so many people say the Linux community is hostile, that is completely false. Because there are so many places that are fantastic that
you can say some in the Linux community are just like they are in Windows.
It used to be a lot more years ago.
Okay.
Years ago, it was pretty bad.
I would say before Ubuntu changed that approach, it was pretty awful, really. Like there were certain sections where, like I wouldn't say specifically Ubuntu say it's changed everything. I'm just saying like the most thing you would come into like more people would deal with Ubuntu, and then they would see that the community for Ubuntu is so friendly and so helpful, and then you would see other communities you would notice it more then. But like in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was some. It was kind of bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
It was very unfriendly, very like no questions from anybody that didn't have a complete understanding of the terminal or anything like that. But it's gotten so much better over the years.
It's almost like my channel was a refuge for people who got lost out of the communities, you know. But I would say just come. If you have a newbie, question, come on. I actually had a couple weird comments that were compliments. And one guy says, "No offense, but you sound like a newbie." Thank you. That's exactly what I want to sound to help people who are newbies come on in, you know. Because if I started talking, command line, terminal commands, and all this, and PPAs, it ain't gonna work. But
well, there's a time and a place for that, but it's not for everybody,
Yeah.
There's actually this.
I think that. Sorry.
You go ahead. Go ahead, Colin.
I think a lot of the YouTube content on Linux probably cleaned a lot of that up because people were showing you how to do things in the terminal and so forth. And I think people could be less elite within the Linux community because people were learning and it was out there.
I mean, I've done a few things how to use the terminal, but not that much because nowadays with like Linux Mint or Ubuntu Monte, I don't think the terminal is really as necessary. I mean, it's good to learn it just in case.
This kid's gotta go.
Mute him, please.
Speaking of hostile.
You've got a troll, Rocco.
He'll be back. He'll be back. I'll keep removing him. You guys continue on the discussion. I'll monitor the participants.
Poor Rocco's like,
trolls.
Why me? But
well, if it continues, then just next week we'll just make the link private and we'll change it to something else. And if people want to get in, they'll just have to ask for it because
not working.
It probably would be best.
Speaking
on
the terminal.
Go
on, Michael.
The community is actually so much better. Like I'm probably the opposite of a newbie, but I try to make everything that I talk about approachable to everyone who's beginners or anything. So even though I'll talk about sometimes pretty complicated topics like the package managers and the difference between the newer versions of something, the newer version of a package manager versus the older version, and why you should use one or the other and things like that. But I'll try to make it as approachable as possible because I don't want my content to be super technical, but I don't want to shy away from the technical stuff. So I try to find this weird hybrid, and that kind of is interesting because my community in my channel is both. It's got both sides, and sometimes there's a little bit of hostility, but it was more hostile in the beginning than it is now. So that is the weirdest thing I've seen is that it kind of transitioned away from the hostility.
I think in the past, some of the comments, when I started off, they were very hostile. It's look, I'm calling it as I see it. Of course, Linux has gotten better since when I started doing the channel back in 2010. But back then, it wasn't that good. But now it's miles ahead of what it was. But at the time, I call it as I see it. I did that video 4 years ago or so, why Windows users can't switch to Linux. I think I had 500 likes and 500 dislikes. So you can pick and choose which one had the likes and dislikes, But that was comparing Windows 7, so that video has been deleted. That was kind of funny. I had one guy says, "You don't know what you're talking about." On the flip side, dude, you nailed it. That's why Windows users can't switch. So it is what it is, as they say. But
I mean, I would say that even it's not even really fair to talk about YouTube comments as a metric for it, really, to be honest, because YouTube has a notorious reputation of having very bad comments because it's anonymous and all this, it's random and stuff like that.
It's gotten better though for me. It's not as bad as it seems. Yeah, it's but
I agree. It's improved.
It's
it's more if you talk about Linux and you show that you care about it, the community on YouTube is very nice about. Well, I wouldn't say very nice. I would say it's tolerable, and they somewhat are cordial to you. Whereas if you make a video about Linux and you're not a Linux fan, you get a lot of hate for it.
Well, that's the thing. If you do a comment or a video in absolutes, like if someone says, well, Windows sucks, that's an absolute. Well, you got to tell me why or what sucks in Windows. Last month I did the top 5 reasons, more or less, why Linux sucks, and I did the top 5 reasons why Windows sucks. I didn't say it that way, but the top 5 reasons why you should switch to. Anyway, but I try to have a balanced approach.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the number one reason to try Windows is probably gaming, you know, but everybody says that.
Yeah.
And then I said Linux. The one thing I love in Linux is the update process. You know, speaking of the update process, I mentioned I installed Linux Mint Cinnamon today. Yesterday, I did the Windows 10 Creators Update on that ThinkPad, and it had Windows 7. Literally, the update process took 4 or 5 hours, rebooting back and forth. It's atrocious.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Yes, honest to God.
Oh, no, I don't doubt it. That's ridiculous.
Now, granted, it's an older machine, ain't as zippy, but really that long?
It shouldn't be that long.
But I blame it on the machine partly because it's not as fast. But once it rebooted multiple times, it works. No bugs. Everything worked in Windows the way it just took too long. Of course, in Linux, when you update, it's a lot faster. But that's
and
one thing I don't like.
And even the initial installation is faster, unlike Windows.
That's one thing I don't like about Windows. But once you get it up and running, does it work? It does. Windows 10 is an improvement. It's that simple.
I've changed my look on Windows 10 after spending a week with Antergos.
And that might be a little of an extreme statement.
But you know, the thing about Linux too is once you get started really liking it and wanting to learn it, you know, we all probably had Windows for years before you really found Linux, I guess, that way. Yeah. And I can't count probably on 2 hands. I'd say probably more than 1, but not 2. When you think about from the 90s when I had my first computer, how many times I actually went in the terminal window in Windows. Linux, I'm in it all the time, and I love it. You know, and I think it's part of the learning process in it too. And I think you got to go in there, and we've said this before. You got to go in there, you got to break it once in a while, and that's how you learn. And I think by that is how. Yes, you break it; it's not fun, but you learn to love it more because when the gratification of fixing it, and if you don't fix it, you start over or whatever.
It's also a learning process.
Exactly.
That's how I did it over the course of maybe 11 years now. I wasn't afraid to get my hands dirty, as it were, as a Windows user, Windows XP user back then. I thought, well, this is kind of interesting. And back 2006 or 7, Linux was not ready for prime time, at least not for beginners. It just wasn't. But I figure, you know, give it time, and I learned as I went. Now, how many Windows users have patience?
I am sorry. I am.
Well, and you know, but see,
patience.
the thing about starting over with Linux, though, too, as opposed to Windows, is you don't have half a day or a day shot getting it back.
Yeah. So, but the only thing that surprises me today in Linux, I'm surprised that multimedia hasn't gotten. I mean, I mentioned like audio recording, Michael, to record conversations, and of course you can use OBS or Kazam. Of course, it records a video or an image, and that's fine. But I'm surprised you can't just do simple audio recording 2-way. That surprises me today. But
I mean, in OBS you kind of can without doing video. It's just like
you put an image up, but you're recording the.
It is kind of weird. Yeah,
it is kind of weird. You would think at 20, and I did make a point of that. I said Windows is better than multimedia. If somebody said, "What do you mean?" Well, what about audio recording? Oh yeah, you're right. Okay.
But you know
there's ways. I mean, I wouldn't say multimedia creation and multimedia consumption, or I think that there needs to be a distinction there, but in the sense of like
in general, wrapping it all in the package.
Right.
You know, I think Kden Live has gone better.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and it even works for me fairly well in Windows. Dare I say blasphemy in Windows? But
well, I mean, they do make it specifically so people can use it for Windows, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's great. And when Kden Live doesn't work right, which hasn't been that bad lately, I use Shotcut which is also for Windows. It's not as quite as full featured, but it works. So
yeah, Shortcut's good. It's got some
but
cool
you know what, the distros, when you look at distros compared to the other operating systems, you know, they're no different than the big three car makers or any product you go buy. Each one's going to have its differences. I mean, when you think about it, it wasn't that long ago that Linux wasn't even being talked about like this, that it was even up in the top three of, you know, Microsoft, Apple, and this. And the funny thing is with the last vulnerability, the root vulnerability that they screwed up with in Apple, if you think about the fix for the password, it's the exact same thing because it's the same basis as Linux. It's the exact same thing, going into the terminal and fixing it. Oh my God, this kid.
He does not give up.
It might be an early show tonight.
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
A quick
Next week there'll be a waiting room. Zeb had pointed out for Destination Linux, when we use Zoom, we have a waiting room, and I have the setting. I turn it off so that you guys don't have to. Basically, what it sits you in a room. It's basically sits you there until we allow you in. So next week I'll put that on instead of changing it to a private link or anything. I'll just put that on, and then he won't be able to get in unless I admit him. So.
Which is
speaking
of, every now and
until we end the stream, you know, it'll be this way.
But a quick question for you guys who dual boot Windows. How many of you have noticed that Windows has now disappeared from Grub? It no longer picks it up.
It picks it up for me.
No problem. No.
Has your Windows
my one still does.
the latest version though?
I will say that
I'm pretty sure mine is.
Yeah, mine's Windows 10, and it's picked it up. When I just did the Antergos install, it still picked it up.
Wow.
I dual boot on separate drives, so I couldn't. That wouldn't even be a fair answer for me.
Because both my laptop and my main machine they no longer have a Windows entry in the Grub system, and I have to use my F8 key if I want to boot into Windows. It's not a major problem, but it always used to be there, and even Solus doesn't up anymore.
Are they two separate drives, or is that the same partition?
I've got 3 drives and about 80 partitions, so it's neither here nor there.
Maybe you just lost it.
Okay.
It was
is it the
before?
There's a software program, and I'm drawing a blank on the name, where you can actually go in there and set that up too. Do you know what it is, Michael? I'm thinking of
Grub Customizer might do it for
it's
you.
Grub. It's called Grub something. I can't remember. Think what it is.
Grub Customizer is the best one. That works
That's
pretty
the one
well.
I'm thinking
There's
of.
Grub Rescue as well, but I'm not sure if that's the one you're referring to. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that try to do that. There's a lot of distro specific ones too. I don't know if I haven't had a Grub problem in a very long time, so I don't remember which one.
The only time I had one was this week.
My dual booting situation, I have actually technically 5 systems to boot from. All of them are
he's back.
There's no problem. So I don't use Grub for Windows when I do have it, and I just use the MBR.
Just touching back on what Joe was talking about before with the Linux terminal. I never used to use the terminal, but over time got used to using it. I actually like using it now. The only thing I don't use it for is moving files and stuff, because I don't trust myself.
Right.
I can only do it in the GUI because I can see where things are moving, but doing it in a command line is I could probably end up deleting something I'm not supposed to. But
well, if you do MV and CP usually won't have that kind of effect. There are times where you could do some problems, like if you do like a recursive move, that can end badly.
Absolutely, yeah. That's why I would rather do things in an open as administrator scenario, and the GUI is much better. But one thing I'll tell you, it took me a while. I never used to like using Nano. I hated Nano, couldn't stand it. I use it a lot now. But when I first started watching people do Nano on YouTube, I used to use it, and the changes wouldn't stick. But nobody would ever tell you that when you press Control-O, you got to press Enter after that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, this little line shows up right at the bottom of it, you know.
And a lot of people never told you that. They just do a YouTube video, go, oh, yeah, that's easy, I can do that. And then you're thinking, why didn't that work? And they never tell you Control-O and then press Enter.
Well, and one thing I did recently, too, is I put the sudo vsudo in here to be able to not have to go into, be able to change and eliminate having to enter the password every time I did something, which that could be risky too, depending on what you're doing. But for the most part, it's not anything that's really important. Still going to ask you for it. But if you're just doing like updates or the simple upgrade commands and stuff like that, it's actually kind of nice to not have to deal with that. Where you just hit enter and boom, it goes. You know.
Yeah.
Basically, it's you just put no password, you know, and done. And I think it's 3 locations within that file. It comes up and it's done.
Like that's a nice feature that it's nice saving time, but it can bite you, you know, from that.
Yeah.
So like I've been administrating Linux machines for over almost 2 decades, really. And I still just type the password. Just because
once you're used to it, it's not that bad. It's not like it takes that long. It's just you know. But yeah, I guess you're right. That's why I said it. You know, just like you did. It's just, you know, it could be a risky thing.
The biggest thing that people used to moan about when Windows brought out the UAC or whatever it was, user control, where whenever you wanted to do something, you had to type your password in, and they always got the big hump with that and turned it off.
Well, no, I mean the UAC was absolutely terrible because the situation wasn't like you literally never typed your password to UAC. It was just an OK button. It's like, why even do it then if it's just an OK button? And because people have this weird response of where they do like this blind click, where they didn't even read what it was. They just OK, pop up, click OK, done, and they weren't even reading it. So that like the security added was worthless because no one cared and they just accepted whatever it was. Where when the approach of the password approach is, I think it's better because it makes you have to manually interact with it more so than just clicking an OK button. So in that sense, it adds a little extra work, but it also makes it so that people kind of think about it before they do it, because they're like, you know, oh, I got to type my password in, so maybe I should check to see if whatever I'm typing in is actually what I want to do. Which is usually what you want to do. It's just
once in a while, it's good that it does that because you go, "Oops, I didn't want to do that."
Yeah, I like it overall, and I understand when people don't want to do it all the time. That's why when I'm doing sudo stuff, I've edited my there's a time range, so that when you activate sudo, there's by default there's a 10-minute time period where all passwords are accepted, all sudo commands are accepted once you activate it one time. So that's why if you do sudo apt update and sudo apt upgrade, the upgrade won't ask you for your password again. But you can make that 10-minute default longer if you want to.
I bet your sudo password isn't 120 characters.
It probably isn't.
See, my password is a sentence. My password is you talking to me. That's my password.
Is that what you think? Mine's monkey 1.
122.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But, actually, I think the odd thing about Linux is that people will say, you know, people are afraid of the command line because, you know, it's just in Windows, the command prompt is painful. And in Linux, the command line is actually easier in some cases. They're like, hey, you want to install something. You got to go to this website. You got to download this file. Then you got to activate it. You run it, make sure it has permissions to run. Then you run it, and then it says, are you sure you want to run this with a UAC thing? You're like, okay, cool, let's do it. And then like, okay, like click next. And you're like, well, is that easier, or is typing sudo apt install the name of the package easier? You're like, well, what do you do after that? You just wait, and when it's done, it's done.
Yeah, you install Chocolatey on Windows for that, and it's just as easy as Linux Chocolatey.
Yeah, because that Chocolatey is the Linux method of doing window package management on Windows.
Yes, and the advantages of it is it doesn't put all the crap in your what's that stuff they put inside your browsers? All those
toolbars.
When you're
Toolbars.
it never ever does that when you use Chocolatey for installing.
Well, my favorite terminal is the Orlando International Airport. So trust me, it's a great terminal. Very, yeah.
Right.
I used to live there, so lots of eye candy.
See, there's a big Unity update coming for the Ubuntu 16.04.
Yeah, I read that.
Yep, that's quite good.
Interesting.
Yeah, I saw that this afternoon.
What's funny is that there was I've had multiple conversations in some Telegram groups where someone would be saying something like, "You notice that Unity hasn't had any maintenance updates in a very long time." It's like, well, it's in maintenance update. They're only going to do it when they need to.
Yeah.
And then now that they have, it's like, hey, you haven't said it in a very long time. Yeah, like a day.
When I had Ubuntu GNOME updated, I installed the GNOME fallback session, but even that had its little quirks. That's when I finally gave up after that. Okay, great, this looks like the old GNOME too, but it didn't. Yeah, it didn't work as good. So
yeah,
I tried. I really tried, but no.
I haven't watched much videos this week, but Michael, are you going to cover the search DuckDuckGo from the command line, or have you done that already? Have you seen that
I covered
story?
it in my show. Yes.
You have? What, the one during the week, or all right? I'll have to go
no,
back.
it'll be released tomorrow.
Oh, released tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't. It's not a video specifically about that particular application. It's just the This Week in Linux. I covered that in one of the topics. That was actually the second topic.
Sure.
Because I actually, what's cool about it is that the guy who made the DuckDuckGo DGGR command line tool also made the Googler tool I talked about in episode 6 with nice interconnection thing for my own show. I realize he didn't do that on purpose, but I still appreciate it.
Okay.
But DGGR is great. The fact that you can use DuckDuckGo, like the Bang system inside your command line, it's so awesome. Like I didn't really bother caring about the Googler app because I don't use Google, but the DDGR app is actually quite cool.
So it'll search for websites, and you can just read websites and stuff within the terminal window. Is it? Is that how it works? Yeah.
You can read some of the stuff. Yeah. It's also really cool because you can specify like how many results you want. So if you want a lot of results and how you want the results to display and all this other stuff, like everything that Googler has, DDGR has, is just. I think it's supposed to be DDGR. I don't know, but
I have to check that out.
But it's the reason why I was excited because when I realized the guy who made Googler also made this was like it's great because the Googler was like really cool in general, but I didn't really want to use Google all the time. So like having all the same features, but then adding the Bang system is like it's fantastic.
Nice.
I just use Google.
No way. No way.
I use DuckDuckGo.
You use Google? No. Do you use it in
that,
Chrome?
huh?
Does it work good in Chrome?
Actually, it works pretty good in Chrome for some reason.
That's fantastic.
But I got Firefox 57 installed, and I've been like slowly trying it out.
What do you
It
think
works.
of it?
Firefox works. I mean, for me, it does anyway.
Well, 57
Works
works
for me, too.
way better than any previous version has worked.
Yeah,
That is 100% true.
Yes. But
Well,
I still don't know if I'm convinced to, like switching over.
It's still got that one big bug, like with our chat windows now. It loses focus and you can't just start typing. You have to chat into
Well, that's the same. Chrome has the same thing. Chrome has that too. It doesn't matter.
It does. It does the same thing to me.
Yeah.
I've never suffered it with Chrome.
Well, I've had it I've even had it in Vivaldi and stuff. It's just it's just YouTube problem.
Weird. As I say, I've only ever noticed it on Firefox.
No, I can attest to it's happening right now to me, and it's a Chrome window.
There you go.
Really?
It's enough to drive me insane.
Especially
I mean, with the trolls and the stream and the bit rate.
I would imagine, yeah.
Like, ready to call it a night.
I don't blame you.
Well,
Rocco,
the topic.
Rocco, you need to have your emergency bottle of wine to the right. That's your analysis, juice.
Don't ask me why I'm drinking coffee at 12:23 at night.
Because you want to be up.
Be attentive.
Well,
No
see,
coffee.
this is my whole problem because I'm completely off schedule now because for work now I get up at 3:15 in the morning.
God.
Oh,
So I usually go to bed at 7:30. So now I'm
That's
completely off
inhuman.
schedule. Yeah, I think it is inhuman. I don't think anybody should be getting up at 3:15, but that's the way it is. It's all good.
I do every week.
But why?
So he can be on the show.
Yeah, I know.
But why is a good?
I feel
question.
so bad too.
So, speaking of Firefox, did you hear about the Mozilla speech recognition thing they're working on?
No, did not.
No.
Is that the one where they're asking you to test the speech and like submit things to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear about it. I didn't mess with it, but I did hear about it.
So they set up this voice search thing that was in the test pilot of Firefox, and I think it's still in test pilot. But they announced it to I think like yesterday or the day before that they're open sourcing all the stuff that makes that work. So they're open sourcing not only the function of activating the searching, but also the algorithm and the computational stuff, and also like the data analysis stuff, like everything. So what's really cool about this is that they have this thing called Project Common Voice, and Project Common Voice is an open source approach to the data analysis. Thank you. And reason why it's cool is because one of the biggest problems of speech recognition software is that depending on your accent, it will either understand you or have no idea at all.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say the YouTube video with the two Scottish guys in the voice activated lift 11.
Yeah.
That's what's going to go wrong, isn't it? That's what's going to happen with
this. Is why Mozilla's approach is awesome. They specifically made this so that they could ask people to participate regardless of your dialect, so they can have the algorithm learn dialects. So they've already had over 20,000 people submit various different words and phrases that have different dialects. And
forget about it.
Stuff. From Glasgow and Newcastle.
Yes, I haven't tried that, but you might as well give it a try. But like the approach that they're doing is fantastic because they're doing it in a large scale, but at the same time they're focusing on like individual dialects of different people. So like once companies start rolling out using their Project Common Voice and the Project Deep, I think it's Deep Search. Anyway, that is going to make it so that it's more commonly accessible to people of all different types of like regions and everything. I think that's pretty awesome.
So, well, I was just typing in chat, so I didn't hear everything you said, and I might have missed it. But what is the whole project for? Like, what is the goal?
Oh, the goal is a collaboration of making search recognition or voice recognition available to everyone, pretty much. So, like, companies could use their algorithms or the, and like you also have the choice of whether you participate or not, like whether you participate in the analysis stuff or not. So like, and you can take their algorithms and put it in whatever you want. You can put it in, like a desktop thing, like maybe even Mycroft could take their work and like collaborate in some way to improve Mycroft. Like the approach they're doing is like every possible company that might want to provide something like this, even put it in their own existing apps and stuff, they could use their tools, their algorithms, and their everything to accomplish that and provide the service.
Nice.
Yeah, it's the approach is just, in my opinion, like it's fantastic that they're putting that much effort in.
Yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah,
You know, it could be fun watching Destination Linux this week.
That could be fun.
Because we interviewed Liam from Gaming on Linux, so it was a really cool interview.
Nice.
Unfortunately, if you're not a gamer, you might not enjoy it. I mean, I would think you could enjoy it either way, but if you game, then I think you would enjoy it more. So,
yeah,
I'm not a gamer, but I'll just.
I'm not.
Watch you and Ryan give each other a hard time.
Yeah.
There's much of that in this.
I'm not a gamer, but I'll listen to it anyway.
I actually wouldn't have called myself a gamer until Rocket League came out, and yeah, I'm totally a gamer now.
Yeah. Rocket League. Something I haven't got to play this week yet.
Uh-oh.
You having withdrawal symptoms?
Yeah. No, I lie. I actually got to play with Ryan one time this week. But, yeah, I haven't got
I
to
wonder if
play
he's
much.
going to show his face next week.
He's not. He's not.
Oh, you better
He's
find
not.
yourself a new co-host then.
I'll send my resume to who?
Yeah, so next week could be Rocco and Toss. You better freaking join, okay?
So I'm interested to try probably the new Deep In. I don't know what that's like, whether they've changed a whole heap about it or.
They have
whether
changed
it's
quite a
just-
bit. Yep.
Have they?
Yeah,
Maybe I
they've
will
added
try
some
it.
new tools that are pretty cool.
But don't go to
Okay.
their website and expect any information because it's all in Chinese.
No, I just use. No, I normally translate that. It normally translates okay.
One of probably the biggest thing they added was they added high DPI support,
Okay.
and they also added flat pack support. I don't know if the flat pack support is by default or not, but I know that I don't know in the sense of like being able to install stuff from FlatHub. I think they just added the functionality of using flat packs so that the core itself is installed.
Hold on, Mike. Lamer, you don't need video if you don't want video. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it just won't show up on the YouTube thing. So.
Well, what I'll do is I will go into the settings here and unhide the I have a setting.
Non-participant, yeah.
I have a setting to hide the non-video guys. So there, now you'll see his box.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, man.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Welcome to this tree.
Hey, Rocco, by the way, I got my new keyboard and mouse. That thing weighs. I can't believe how heavy that thing was, the G910. And I actually, it's going to sound funny, but I actually enjoyed messing it better with the keyboard and mouse. I was surprised, and it must be the keyboard because I never thought there'd be a huge difference between a gamer keyboard and a regular keyboard with doing this stuff. So I'm kind of anxious to just compare it, even though my Steam controller works with fine now. I'm still having trouble getting used to that, but I'd be curious to try the keyboard. I'm going to try that very soon here with the keyboard and mouse and see how that.
Does your keyboard have any macro keys?
It does.
It does.
Yeah, I've got the same one Rocco has.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, the macro keys are something I miss from those.
The hardest part about this right now is I'm so used to going to the end of the keyboard for your typical command buttons. I keep hitting the macros by accident, and all of a sudden up or whatever. So it's going to take a little while getting used to. And then the way it lays, even though it's got the legs opened up, that only brings it up slightly above level. It's not like what you're used to in most keyboards. So there's some.
It doesn't have a super slant, no.
Oh, what's that?
It doesn't have a super slant, no.
No, but it's nice. It's just. And then the fonts on here too, getting used to those a little bit too, are a little different. But I do like the fact that it lights up, and there's a lot of nice features on here. So
it's an awesome keyboard. Got the rolling scrolling wheel for the volume.
Yep.
Got the media buttons. I love it.
The only thing that it was missing, which I use a lot, and that was very easily fixed, was I use a calculator a lot, so I'm used to hitting the calculator button. So all I did was just assign it to one of the F buttons. I use F4 a lot. I used to use it on Windows the same way, F4 to bring up a calculator or something like that. But not a huge deal. But I'm loving it so far. I'm just shocked at the weight of it. I've never had a keyboard that was this heavy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't usually use move my keyboard that often, so it pretty much stays in one spot. So I don't even notice that it's heavy, but it is pretty heavy keyboard.
Did you, one of the things that, talk about needing Windows again, but one of the things that I was watching some videos on how to actually program, like, unfortunately, the mouse does not have the ability to program it in Linux, because it doesn't have the software support. So one of the things I was watching a video they were talking about is going in a virtual machine, load Windows up, or even if you dual boot, but you could program the mouse within there, and then the mouse retains the settings in there. So it will be recognized.
Yeah, I've read that. Yeah.
I don't know if yours specifically does it, but the G502 that I have has onboard memory, so all of the
602?
configurations. The 502.
Oh, I've got a 602. Okay.
Oh, well, then yours should.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have set it up in Windows, and it keeps all of the configurations. Yeah. So I have the same profiles that I have in Windows. I just don't have the GUI to change anything with it.
See, that's to me the one, again, simple frustration with Linux is that, it's getting better, but it's still it's dragging with some of the support from these hardware manufacturers, and I don't get it. I mean, if they can support, and the thing that's really frustrating is if they could support stuff. Of course, Apple, a Mac system isn't necessarily a big gaming system, so they don't care about it. But if they can support stuff for that, it's the same platform. Why can't they, just do the same thing for Linux? I don't get it.
I think it comes down to money, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. But
I mean, when you have to support, Linux and Mac may be close, but when you have to support multiple different bases like Ubuntu or Arch and all this stuff, they don't want to spend the money to have somebody. I mean, they very easily could have people write the GUIs for Linux and support them, but why? I mean, what's the advantage to them?
That's a valid point too, because Mac is Mac, and it's just one platform. Where, like you just said, Linux has so many different ones, and so I guess I didn't really think of it clearly that way.
That's the issue that we've always had for decades of the.
Although it's getting better, I have
format stuff.
Yeah.
Well, there's this one open source project, and I forget what it's called, Logic SDK or something like that. And it's a guy writing a GUI for the Logitech peripherals. It's not like prime time yet. It's pretty technical. You got to build it and all this other stuff. But it's hopefully at some point we'll have a GUI for Logitech peripherals.
Yeah, if they make snaps or app images for it, that'd be great.
Yep.
Like that's one of the issues that we've had forever. It's just that when a company thinks about whether they should release for Linux or not, and then they go, well, if I make it for Ubuntu, I get people who aren't using Ubuntu hate on me, and we don't care about. It'd be easier to have them all be annoyed that we don't have support for any of them, rather than a group of people just attacking us, and we couldn't really manage that at all. So just skip it.
Yep.
And the app images and snaps and Flatpaks and stuff are gonna have already solved that quite a bit. So there are a few companies that would have never even considered it that are now considering it because they've even said so.
I just want to point out that two things. One, that if anybody wants to give Ryan a hard time, he still is in the chat.
I already did, and he never responded.
Okay.
Get your butt in here, you turkey.
John,
I razzed him a bit, and I never heard a boo from him.
Two, John Paul Yates just said you can't beat a Logitech keyboard with the Romer G switches, and I have to agree.
Yeah,
they're awesome, and that's what the G910 has in it, Joe. Is the Romer G switches?
Yes, yeah.
Then they're awesome.
Cherry MX Blues.
I don't know. So I didn't go out and buy a keyboard of every type of switch out there, but I have had keyboards of different types of switches, and the Romer G switches are awesome.
I will go ahead and just give you information. I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to keyboards.
The one thing I've noticed though, and I was looking at the different switches and stuff, and with the spring support and these roamers and stuff too, it was what I really liked about them. And there's been a lot of good reviews on them. The one thing for me is as I've gotten older, my computers, I built silent computers. I have the sound dampeners and all that. That's one thing I'm trying to get used to. It's not horrible, but it is a louder keyboard to type on. But it's
any mechanical keyboard is going to be a louder keyboard. And actually, the Romer G is quieter than some of the other ones.
Right.
So
the MX Blues are the joke, the joke switch that is like the loudest you could possibly get.
Yeah.
It requires the most effort to push them, and they're very loud. So it's like the joke is like they're the best because they're the loudest.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also like the Cherries actually do have good switches in general.
Well,
like,
one of the things that I saw
I don't have
Linus Tech Tips about, he was talking about this, and he had a lot of good things to say about it, but he did raise a valid point about the keys, the way they're shaped and configured. But I think for somebody who's been on a gaming keyboard before and then trying to come to this, I could see where that would be more of a problem than somebody like myself coming from a standard keyboard to this. I don't think it's that huge of an adjustment because, it's just, if you really look at it, there's different contours to all different keys for different things. So to me, I kind of like it actually. So
the only thing I don't like about the non-uniform key approach is that if a key breaks or something happens, you have to replace one. It's kind of annoying.
Right.
There is this one keyboard that I really want just because I like the idea.
WASD?
They might make it. I don't know. I don't remember who makes it. But there's a keyboard. It's like Black Edition or something where there are no labels whatsoever on any keys.
WASD.
Yeah.
What it is you can order it and customize it any way you want. You could have it absolutely nothing on it. You could have it with purple, pink, red, blue, whatever. I mean, you could have certain keys, certain colors, whatever. You just set it all up the way you want, and you buy it exactly how you want. And they talk about that. I don't know why you would not want to have anything.
Well, actually, I'm a touch typist. I don't even look at it anyway. Yeah. So it would actually benefit me because it would force me to not look down much. It's like, oh, there's nothing to look at. Okay, cool.
Joe, you said you got the standard keys, like the standard keycaps?
Yeah, it's whatever came with it. They're like the V, like they're kind of V contoured on each side. And
yeah, well, see, that's the one. See, there's two different versions of this keyboard, and one of them has the keycaps like you have, where they are all beveled out, and then there's the standard keycap set, which I got because I wasn't sure that I was going to like the bevel. Because I had watched a ton of reviews on the keyboards and everything, and some people had said they were great, and some people said as they were gaming, their fingers got caught on the actual bevels of the key they were switching over from. Yeah. So I wasn't sure I was going to like it, so I ended up getting the regular standard keycap set.
Okay, yeah. See, I thought this was that. It's I did a lot of research, but I didn't realize there was a difference. This was the one that they kept talking about, and I guess again for me, just really starting to get more hot and heavy into this to where I'm going, I could see where that possibly could be an issue. Yet the other side of the coin is, thinking about how I handle a keyboard. There's been many times I hit off the corner of it or something, and what I like about that is the way these bevels are, and I think that's probably the premise why they did this, is to try to keep your fingers more centered in there for your push, when you're activating it. So time will tell, but right now I'm enjoying it. So
that's good, man. That's good. Yeah. It's a good keyboard.
You're making me want to get an actual mechanical keyboard again.
Well, and I actually got a good price for this too. This was on Black Friday. I paid like $89 just for the keyboard. I mean, it's normally what, $100 and something, $169 keyboard or $100 whatever it was.
Oh yeah, I totally would have done it then too. That's a good deal.
I keep looking at those, and it's like they have a much better feel. The mechanical keys have a much better feel than the little chiclet thingies on my laptop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's the feel because it's not necessarily the feel of the buttons themselves. It's the interaction.
Yeah. It's when you actually know you've pressed the key.
Yeah.
And it's like, as I said in the chat up there, it's like the old IBM PC keyboards, which were based on the IBM Selectric keyboards.
Yeah.
Besides the fact those things were indestructible.
There are some people who still try to get the old IBM keyboards as well, and try to there's a company that actually has the patent.
Really?
From IBM, because IBM sold it to them. so that they make like IBM modern versions. So it's like the IBM's like design with the modern connectors and stuff. So it's actually pretty cool. And I wish they didn't still look like IBM keyboards because they look like 1980s.
Yeah, I mean, if they had a more modern look, it would be much better.
Yeah, it'd be
Well,
nice.
the other thing that's a nice feature on this keyboard is being able to push a button to disable the Windows key while you're using it for gaming. You hit it. That I kind of like too.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just got a cheap HP keyboard that has a little purple plug-in to it.
Hey, it works, right?
Yeah, it works.
I actually used to have a mechanical keyboard that I really liked, and then it broke, and I didn't want to spend the amount of money to fix it because it was like one of those, like, basically you'd have to send it in and kind of break. So it wasn't just like having to replace keys or anything. And I decided not to, and I just stopped caring. So I have like a basic, boring Dell one. And it's okay. It works.
Well, I think, you talk about breaking these keys, though. You'd really have to be pretty abusive on them to break them, I would think. But
yeah, it wasn't a break of the key itself. It was like the signal from the keyboard to the computer was stopped working. So like the circuits in the keyboard itself stopped working. So you had to. It was like a microcontroller issue, and then it wasn't worth fixing because they wanted me to pay them like $50 to. I had to pay shipping, and then I have to do that. The RMA stuff is like the worst thing to deal with when computers involving.
The funny thing is, you talk about that too. Is I was typing in my text editor the other day, and it was kind of lagging a little bit. But I don't think it's the keyboard. I think it's because instead of having just it's actually a pretty long cord, but I still know it won't reach my computer where it's located. So I probably should get an actual true USB extension for it separate. Instead, I've got it in a little hub that goes into an extension. And I think that's probably what caused that lag. It hasn't done it every time. It just happened to do it. And every once in a while that happens on here. But I even noticed that with the keyboard I replaced this with would do that from time to time. So I think it's more my cabling here.
Yeah, if you have an extension cable for a USB, it's a lot more seamless.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm turning into a pumpkin.
Yeah, well,
talk
look.
to you guys later.
What's your last word, Barb?
My last word, I don't know. Keyboards.
Antergos?
No, keyboards.
Antergos. Keyboards. All right, see you, Barb.
See you, Bob.
Okay, good night.
All right. Well, on that note, we're going to end it because it's been a rough streaming night. So, all right. So everybody gets the last word. Colin.
Bye, Antergos.
Bye, Michael.
I just want to say that I always want to be right, and that I want to get the last word.
Yes.
Well, he should have chose you last then, Michael.
Yeah, but it's all right. It's my last word. That's good enough.
Joe.
Well, on the note of what we were just talking about, much like any other thing you do in life, use the right tool for the job. And I am enjoying this keyboard for what I'm using it for now. So get the right tool for the job.
Nice. Pete?
In my opinion, Antergos is awesome. So.
There you go.
That's a good last word. Zeb?
Don't drink with English Bob and Ghosty and then come on a live stream.
Yeah, right? It's not a good thing.
Come on, Zeb. It was awesome, mate. It was awesome.
You guys had a great time today, though.
Toss?
Keep calm. Use Ubuntu Mate.
There you go. Shane.
Well, I don't have much to say except I do have a MX user troll on my channel now.
I'm sorry to hear that. All right, Lamer, you get a last word, dude.
Enjoy Linux.
Nice. All right, the last word is, it may be yesterday, but happy birthday to Zeb.
Hey, happy birthday, Zeb.
Happy birthday, Zeb.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well,
Let's turn
look,
15.
next week we're going to put a waiting room on the chat, so hopefully we won't have to worry about no trolls. And hopefully the stream actually goes better and the bitrate is better and everything is better.
I'll have my bodyguard waiting outside, Luca Brazzi, be no problem. See what I'm saying,
It's not going to be like a doctor's waiting room, is it?
I don't know what it is. I've never been in it, actually. So
we'll find out.
It's just a room that says, "Hey, you're waiting." Wait.
So if for some reason next week that you get in the waiting room and I'm not letting you in right away or Zeb's not letting you in right away, just like message me on Telegram or something. I might not be looking at it right that second. So, all right, everybody have a good week.
Yep.
Ciao.
Good night, y'all.
Good night, everybody. Good night.